Thank you, Dr. Fauci, for answering, well, not answering my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Fauci, do protests increase the spread of the virus?
Do protests increase the spread of the virus?
This was not a trick question. It's either yes or no.
I think I can make a general statement.
Well, 500,000 protesters on June 6th alone.
Yeah.
I'm just asking that number of
No.
people, does it increase the spread of the virus?
Crowding together, particularly when you're not wearing a mask.
My Habibis, I am always wearing my mask. I just stitch it into this.
Contributes to the spread of the virus.
Should we limit the protesting?
I'm not sure what you mean. How do we say limit the protest?
What?
Should government limit the protesting?
I don't think that's relevant to.
Irrelevant. Mr. Fauci, answer the question, please.
Well, you just said if it increases the spread of the virus, I'm just asking, should we limit it?
Well, I'm not in a position to determine what the government can do in a forceful way.
Well, you make all kinds of recommendations.
No.
You make comments on dating, on baseball, on everything you can imagine.
You are a very opinionated man. You have clearly said football should not happen, baseball should not happen. You have had opinion on schools. You had opinion on large gathering. Dr. Fauci, what are you doing? You have opinion on dating. Are you just holding back everything until the Bill Gates vaccine?
You just said that protests increase the spread. I'm just asking you, should we try to limit the protests?
No, I think I would leave that to people who have more of a position to do that. I can tell you.
Government stopping people from going to church, Dr. Fauci?
While abortion centers and liquor stores were deemed essential businesses, Mayor de Blasio threatened to close down churches and synagogues permanently if they dared open their doors. While in Mississippi, worshippers in their cars, socially distanced, were getting fines of $500. And if protesting is okay, why were the protesters who were protesting the lockdown arrested? This is hypocrisy.
Last week in the Calvary Chapel case, 5 liberals on the Supreme Court said it was okay for Nevada to limit church services. Justice Gorsuch said it best. He said there's no world in which the Constitution permits Nevada to favor Caesar's Palace over Calvary Chapel. I'm just asking, is there a world where the Constitution says you can favor one First Amendment liberty, protesting, over another, practicing your faith?
I'm not favoring anybody over anybody. I'm just making a statement that's a broad statement that avoid crowds of any type, no matter where you are, because that leads to the acquisition and transmission. And I don't judge one crowd versus another crowd. When you're in a crowd, particularly if you're not wearing a mask, that induces the spread.
It's a simple question, Doctor. Should we limit the protest?
Very simple question. Please do not dodge it. You have opinion about everything. We just want your opinion.
Government is obviously limiting people going to church. And look, there's been no violence that I can see at church. I haven't seen people during a church service go out and harm police officers or burn buildings. But we know that, for 63 days, 9 weeks, it's been happening in Portland.
Right. Yeah.
Well, one night in Chicago, 49 officers were injured. But no limit to protest. But boy, you can't go to church on Sunday.
What was the? I don't know how many times I can answer that. I'm not going to opine on limiting anything. I'm just going to tell you.
You've opined on a lot of things, Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, but I've never.
This is something that directly impacts the spread of the virus, and I'm asking your position on the protest.
Yeah, I'm not going to opine on limiting anything. I'm telling you what it is, the danger, and you can make your own conclusion about that. You should stay away from crowds, no matter where the crowds are.
Government has stopped people from going to work. In fact, just in New Jersey 4 days ago, Ian Smith, Frank Trombetta were arrested for trying to operate their business, their gym. They were arrested. But my bet is if these two individuals who own this gym were outside just in front of their gym, and all the people who were working out in their gym were outside protesting, they'd been just fine. But because they were in the gym working out, actually running their business, they got arrested.
I just have a great idea. You can do protest push-ups, protest sit-ups, protest jogging, protest weightlifting. Mr. Habib knows everything.
Do you see the inconsistency, though, Dr. Fauci?
There's no inconsistency, Congressman.
Someone please verify for me, is this Dr. Fauci's high school yearbook photo?
You've advocated for certain businesses to be shut down. I'm just asking you on your position on the protest. I haven't seen one. We've heard a lot about hair salons. I haven't seen one hairstylist who, between haircuts, goes out and attacks police or sets something on fire. But we've seen all kinds of that stuff during protests, and we know the protests actually increase the spread of the virus. You've said that.
I said crowds. I didn't say specifically. I didn't say protests do anything.
So to the question, do the protests increase the spread of the virus?
I don't have any scientific evidence that anything. I can tell you that crowds are known, particularly when you don't have a mask.
People should not be walking around with masks. You're sure of it? Because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet. To increase the acquisition and transmission, no matter what.
So you don't have a position on whether the protests increase the spread of the virus or don't increase the spread of the virus?
I'm saying that crowds, wherever the crowds are, can give you an increased probability that there's going to be acquisition and transmission.
But do you understand Americans' concern? Protesting, particularly according to the Democrats, is just fine, but you can't go to work, you can't go to school, you can't go to church. There's limits placed on all three of those fundamental activities, First Amendment activities, but protesting is just fine.
People should not be walking around with masks.
Ya Habibi, Mr. Habib cannot trust anyone who is not honest all the time. He has telling everybody do not wear mask. So the people will not buy the mask and make the shortage for the PPE in the hospital. Everybody, is this the man that you can trust with your life? You decide. Please like, share, and subscribe to Mr. Habib.